Hello? Hello?
Hey.
Hello? All right, hey, welcome to another Stonehearth Desktop Tuesday. This Desktop Tuesday is a little bit different, clearly, because instead of just me, you get me and Albert. Albert has been Stonehearth's lead engineer for many, many years now, and today he wants to show you all something that is super cool that he actually made primarily in his free time, right?
Yep.
Over the
Over
holidays.
the holiday break.
So, like, we didn't know Albert was doing this, and we didn't plan for it in Alpha 23. And it's actually so unstable that we're not actually planning on putting it in the game at all, as it is.
Well, let's talk about it first, and then,
right,
and
let's
then we'll
talk
talk
about it
about
first.
how, if you guys want to play with it, we can make a mod or something.
All right, so it's kind of unstable, so it's not going to. Don't expect this to be in the game anytime soon, but if you really, really, really want it as a mod or something, let us know.
Cool. So first, let's bring up Stonehearth,
All right.
and I have a little bit of custom code added here, and we'll show what that looks like. So let's do a make run, which is how we normally launch Stonehearth. And let me load a game.
So we had no idea what Albert was doing. He was just like, hey guys, I want to show you something one random day, and we were like, what are we looking at?
All right, so here we have a big lake, and you saw him sort of hiding something in the background there, but we'll get to that in due time.
For those of you who haven't been following, Albert has primarily been working on water recently. So like in Alpha 23, water now works with buildings, for example.
Yep. Yeah, so I did the water simulation, and I spent quite a bit of time in the past few months to really stabilize it and make it handle all the cases that, all the boundary conditions and unusual cases that it didn't handle before. And so instead of doing a demo to show all the things that I could handle now, I actually figured I would just sort of play around with the water system and see just how far I could push it and see what this thing might be able to do. So, so here if I unpause it, you'll see I have a small crate, and let's just go to this little corner here of this big lake. And let's drop this crate in the water, and whoa, hey, look, it's doing something it doesn't usually do, which is going to the bottom of the lake and it's floating. So first thing, so I went into the physics service, and which normally handles collisions within Stonehearth and figures out when hearth things are stuck or when fixtures or furniture are stuck. And the physics service will figure out whether it should fall to the ground because it's not supported, or if it should be bumped a couple blocks one way or the other, so that whatever it's colliding with, to make space for both of them in the world. So that's what it normally does. But in this case, I extended it such that it now knows that if an object is submerged in water, it will continue to, and it's been tagged as being lighter than water, then it will float up until it reaches the surface. So cool. That's basically all the code that I wrote. So what can you do with this? Well, it actually turns out that if you have floating physics implemented in the world, you can actually make a switch. And that's this little thing over here that I was hiding down here.
So what is a switch?
Well, actually, let me reload this because this water pool is kind of full.
Okay.
So a switch, or I guess another way to put it is this is actually what you're looking at here is a basic transistor made with the water simulation. So let's hit run, and so here let me describe what's going on. So this line here is actually the power line for the transistor, and then this channel here is the input line. And right now, the way we're defining this is the lack of flowing water would be a binary 0, and the presence of flowing water would be a binary 1 in this switch. And so those of you familiar with transistor logic might sort of see there's a lot of similarity to the source, drain, gate terminology that's used in building chips. I won't get into any detail about that. But let's actually see this thing in operation. So this particular switch is called an inverter, and basically what that means is that it will output the opposite value of what is input. And so the input here, there's no flowing water, so this is a 0, and we see the output here is flowing water, so that's a 1. So 0 here, it inverts it, and a 1 comes out here. So let's see what happens when we pack up this small crate. Sorry, I actually made small crates floatable. It's weird that the UI also pops up. And so now we're putting a 1 into the input gate, and we're getting a 0 on the output. And that's pretty cool. So how's that happening? So basically you see that it filled up this channel, and there was a floatable crate here, and when this channel filled up, the crate floated to the top, and it blocked the water coming in here, and so it's not flowing on the output. And similarly, we can put the crate back. Tell our little hearthling that he wants to do some. Oh, the other hearthling's going to come in.
They're so happy. They're so happy that this transistor works.
Cool. So you see there, you saw there that the input drained, and that caused the water level to fall below a certain level. The block fell down, and that freed up this channel to be able to flow again.
All right. So here's the transistor template. You made them all templates.
Yep.
Now editing.
Cool. Edit. So I will strip away surface by surface to get a cross section of the transistor, and we can see what's going on the inside.
Awesome. So mostly it's like, where was the crate, and like I see. So water came in, and then the crate floated.
Right. So you see here, this is up here was the power line.
Mm-hmm.
And that would normally cross over to here and then go out to the exit. And this was the signal line. And so you see in the cross-section view, it's flowing in here. It's filling up this chamber full of water. Once this chamber's height exceeds that of this block, it causes this block to float to the top. And then it'll float to the top, block that input line, and then cause the water to stop flowing toward the output over here. Then this channel becomes open, and then this entire cavity will then fill with water and then overflow this little, I don't know what to call it, drain, I guess, over here, and then flow down into the substrate and then collect underneath the transistor.
Nice.
Then later, when we stop the flow of water, basically what happens is that this water, which normally would have on the input side flowed above this point, then drains out here, and then the water level goes below the height of the, or just at the height of the crate, which then causes it to fall down, and then that allows the water line on the top here, right, to continue flowing out to the exit. So that's basically how this switch works. And we can now move to, I guess, a more complicated example. So let me load up another file. Cool. So what we have here is a logic gate, right? Once you can build a switch, then you might as well build logic gates, because that's just what you do when you have switches, right?
So please explain, what is a logic gate?
So a logic gate basically does some form of computation on a set of inputs, right? In this case, we have two inputs, and the specific gate logic that we're implementing is called a NOR gate, and a NOR gate basically says that it is the opposite sign of an OR gate, and an OR gate is basically that if either of your inputs, if A or B is true, then the output is true. And so in this case, it says that if A or B are true, then the output will be false, which means that if either of these channels has flowing water, then there will be no water flowing out here. So let's actually do the example, because I think it's easier to see than to hear me talk about it.
Okay.
Right, so here we have both inputs are 0, and so we have our output of 1. Now, if you can pretty much see based on inspection that if I take either of these crates and pack it up, it's going to fill with water, right? Cause the block to okay.
So there's one of two. There's two blocks in there, and if either
block floats, then it's going to block this channel, right? Right. So you see now both of them are blocked, and it's still going to be empty because either of these can block the flow of the power there, right?
Gotcha.
So now we have sort of two drains going on here. We have two inputs here, and the output here is only true when both of these inputs are blocked, which means that both of these crates will fall, and that will allow the water to flow through the top. All right, so now we can go to maybe an even more complex example. So for those of you that have taken enough computer science or electrical engineering, you'll know that once you can build a NOR gate or build a NAND gate, that you can essentially implement any arbitrarily complex function. We can build something called a half adder. So this is a design that takes two input bits,
okay,
and then outputs the sum of those two bits, right? So here are bits A and B, and then here actually the 5 power lines with 5 transistors that implement this half adder, and then the output here is 2 bits, one bit, the most significant bit here, and the least significant bit here. So if I have A and B, this will be the sum of A and B as a 2-bit output result here. Okay?
Gotcha.
And then we can go one step further, and we can do a full adder. All right, so this puppy takes 2 inputs, A and a B, and what's called the carry bit. So there's a third bit input. You can basically just think of it as adding 3 bits together to get a 2-bit result. But the reason that a full adder is interesting is because you add 2 bits A and B, and the carry bit from the potentially overflow bit from a previous adding operation, right? You just remember in addition you add up each column, and then if it overflows, then you take that 1 bit and you move it to the next column, and that carryover then gets added to the next level of addition when you're doing a digit by digit addition by hand from elementary school, right? So this is basically the exact same thing. This takes and adds 1 column of bits, 2 bits from the 2 inputs, and 1 carry bit from the previous most significant operation just before it, right?
I feel like when you talk about addition here, it's a different kind of addition than the kind of addition you do in preschool, right? Like this is not like I'm adding 3 and 5 and getting 8.
Yeah, so it's pretty much exactly the same thing, except it's binary addition. We're just adding zeros and ones as opposed to 0 through 9.
Gotcha.
Right, and so.
So this allows you to add 1 and 1.
This adds
1 and 0.
This adds three bits, sort of A, B, and C, and will output 2 bits. Because 2 bits can represent the numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3, and that basically is all the full set of results from adding 3 bits together. You could get 0, 1, 2, or 3 bits that we're on. And this full adder is basically just 2 chained half adders. So you see this is the half adder template. You can actually see this exact template right here, right? And that's adding A and B. And then we duplicate this template again over here, except we add, in this case, we add the result of the addition of A and B plus the carry bit that came into this other half adder over here, and then that gets the result of the 2 bits, right? So it's basically it's just a staged, 2 staged half adders to add these 3 bits. We add 2 bits together first, and then we take the result of those 2 bits plus the remaining bit, and then add those 2 together, and then we get the final result. And so you guys can pretty much see where we're headed now, right? So we can load up the next save.
I confess, I was walking behind you at some point on the first day back from break, and I was like, maybe he's building like an aqueduct or something, but no.
Yeah, so I was testing some of the stuff, and people were joking behind me that, oh, you're trying to make Stonehearth Turing complete, ha ha ha. And I'm like, yeah, actually I am. So anyway, here we have we have what's called a 4-bit adder. And so here are the inputs. This is input A, consisting of 4 bits.
Any of which can be 0 or 1.
Right, A, B, C, D, any of which can be 0 or 1. And here's the second input of 4 bits. And we're routing all of these 4 bits and pairing them up. And so here's one full adder that compares 1 column of bits. There's a carry bit right here line. This carry bit line here feeds into the next adder, and it's going to add the next 2 most significant bits plus the carry and generate its result out here. And the same thing's going to stage over to the 3rd column and the 4th column. And then we have the final output here, which is 5 bits, a 5-bit result when you add 2 4-bit numbers together. And let's just run it to show that it in its current state is working. And we'll change the inputs just to prove that it's actually doing real math in a second.
So the inputs are currently all...
Right, but if we look at the inputs, this is 1, 1, 1, 1, which most people would be familiar as a 15 in decimal. And 1, 1, 1, 1, again in binary, is 15 in decimal. 15 plus 15 is 30. And 30 in binary is 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. And again, if you know your binary or hexadecimal arithmetic, 31, which is the maximum value of 5 bits, minus 1, so this is empty, is 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. So this actually is the number 30. But in case you're not following the math, or you just don't believe me, let's actually add 1, 1, 1, 1 plus 1.
Check out that is in decimal 15 and 15.
Oh, right.
And in decimal it is 30.
In decimal is 30, and the binary output is 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. So hey, it at least doesn't embarrass me. Okay, so let's actually change the input and see this thing recalculate. So let's add 2 other 4-bit numbers, and I didn't use Hearthlings here because it's just a little simpler just to directly, caps lock, just to directly dump the small crates into the world. So here, let's do that. All right, let it run. So,
So what are those 2 new numbers?
So yeah,
in decimal.
Let's go look at the numbers.
1, 0,
I
1,
could
1.
compute it in decimal myself, but I'm not going to embarrass myself on stream.
Look, they disabled every number except 1 and 0.
So 1, 0, 1, 1 plus 1, 1, 0, 0 equals 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So let's see. Okay. It's going to take a little bit of time for the water to propagate through this whole circuit. But we're basically looking to see that this line here is going to turn on. And we already see that
look, you can see it coming.
the 4th bit has already turned off,
right.
And the least significant bit is actually coming in. And it gets here slowly. You can do it. You can do it.
Tony was saying that per cycle, this is the least efficient calculator known to man. Something like that?
Probably. Okay, all right. So we're having water flow from it, and you can confirm 1, 0, 1, 1, 1 is actually doing math correctly. So hey, that's actually that's pretty cool. And so this is a 4-bit adder, but basically by the sort of the fundamental principles of computing, once you have a NOR gate or a NAND gate, you could build anything you want. You could build a multiplier. You could build an 8088 processor, something that runs Microsoft Windows if you want. I mean, I'm sure you all have seen the computers that people built in Minecraft with Redstone. This is kind of the same thing, except for just using the regular water system and the physics that naturally result from that, plus the little floating blocks to enable calculation. So that I thought was pretty cool, and both shows the power of the water system to just how sort of complete the simulation is, and just the kind of things, how far you can push the whole system.
It feels like you'd want a really, really big lake, though. Like, in order to, if you were going to build a thing of significant size, because this is based on water pressure, right?
Yeah, so this, running this thing requires quite a bit of water, and so if I had a regular Stonehearth game, it'd probably just drain the lake or lower the water level enough that this thing would just basically stop running. Here I'm cheating a little bit. There's actually been a bin code in the water system that automatically refills lakes, and I just turned that on for this particular project. But we're actually working on a hidden feature where we're actually going to allow the player to be able to control how to increase the level of their reservoirs if they want to have perpetual waterfalls for their town, and we'll be working on that in the next couple cycles.
That is super exciting. Well, actually, all of this is super exciting. Like, I think I understand switches and gates a whole lot more now after seeing them here in your demo than I think I ever did before. And it is super cool to know that Stonehearth is now officially Turing complete.
So there's a couple other things we can take a look at here, just so you can understand, or just so you can see the all the routing and all the sort of magic that that happens behind this
Yes,
stuff.
please.
So here's a bunch of the other pieces, or really building templates that I built
Right.
to construct this 4-bit adder. This is a crossover. So basically, what this does is you can see that it allows 2 streams of water to cross over each other and continue on their way, right? So this top channel allows water to flow in this direction, and then this other direction allows the water to tunnel underneath, fill the reservoir under here, and then come out the other side, right? So that's your basic crossover. We have a 4-bit interleaver, which you can see up here, and this is the particular component for it, and it basically takes 4 inputs here, 4 inputs here, and pairs up each one of the inputs. So here are the two, here, let me rotate it this way. Here are the two most significant bits, right? And it's paired up on these two. Then the next two most significant bits is paired up here, the next two paired up here, and the two least significant bits here then paired up over here in the end, and then basically reroute those, sorry for the zooming problems, route those all the way underneath these power lines.
Sure.
Right, so you can actually, if I cut this whole thing away, you'd see that all of these input signals here are actually going down underneath all these power lines, coming back up, going here, and then doing the same thing, going underneath. And so the reason this thing takes a bit to simulate, or takes a while to simulate, is because it actually has to fill up all of these little underground reservoirs before the water can appear on the other side and then continue on its merry way. Similarly, there's actually a whole bunch of these little tricks inside each one of these half adders in that. Whoa, that zoom was weird. So here, we actually have one input here, one bit coming in here. This bit is actually needed both by this NOR gate as well as by these two, this inverter here. So we actually have if I cut it away, have a channel that shares this signal line. It tunnels underneath this bit here, tunnels underneath to share the same input line between these two reservoirs here. Same thing, this line here is shared over here. So we actually have this weird double U-shaped underground canal that actually links this with this and then this with this, all without interfering with each other. And there's a whole bunch of these little tricks that we do within this full adder, basically to route the outputs of one half adder into the inputs of another one. And there's even a couple other things that I had to get right in order to make it work, where a single input had to feed a single output had to feed other multiple inputs in other areas, and so that's called fan out within EE terminology. And there were some fan out problems, and so I had to handle I had to make some cute connections underneath here to make sure that the water pressure was handled correctly and that the signal would in fact flow and fill the next channels without reducing the water pressure. So there's actually quite a bit of debugging to get this whole thing to work. A bit more complicated than I initially thought, but it ended up working out pretty well.
I'll say, and an amazing proof of concept.
So yeah, that's about all I had to show. I just thought this would be a pretty cool project, and some of you might enjoy seeing this or even playing with it. If you guys really want to, we can talk about making some of the physics service code mod that could be distributed with Stonehearth, and I could even share some of the save games and templates here if people want to play with it.
I think that's amazing. I also think it's just a really great example of how Stonehearth is a game about a small group of people optimizing their environment to survive and stuff, but the fact that it's a simulation also means that the world can be manipulated in this way and has opportunities for playing in the simulation in this way.
Yep.
So cool. All
right.
It's a lot of
fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Albert, so much for explaining all of this and showing us all of this and showing all of us together, walking us through this amazing demo. And thank you guys for tuning in for Desktop Tuesday. Desktop Tuesday returns next week, and we also stream our development every Thursday at 6 p.m. PST on www.twitch.tv/Stonehearth. So happy to see you there too, where you can ask more questions about this and the many other things that we're working on. And in general, I look forward to hearing your comments here in the comment section of this or on our forum at discourse.stonehearth.net. All right, that's it for this week.
Cool. Bye guys.